Hi, welcome to the Phone Arena video review of the Nokia C6-01, the most affordable of Nokia's Symbian 3 launch line, announced earlier this year at Nokia World. It's predictably the most stripped down. A peg below the well-received C7 and a few pegs below the Nokia N8 and the E7. Let's see if this plump little Nokia phone comes up trumps. Firstly, let's look at design. You may recall this is where the C7 and the N8 shone. With their anodized aluminium and hard plastic, Nokia seemed to have highlighted a mastery of working with materials. Sadly, however, picking up the C6-01 feels a little bit squat and hollow. It's a fat phone, considering the screen dimensions and lack of physical keyboard, so despite the metal finish, we much preferred the build of the C7, despite it being plastic. Even the Nokia X3 Touch and Type, the Series 40 phone, feels nicer as it's so much slimmer. The screen's a 3.2-inch AMOLED endowed with Nokia's CBD clear black display. It does look good with very deep blacks and good colors. Sadly, at 3.2 inches, the technology feels a little bit wasted on the C6-01. Symbian works on the N8 and C7 with their 3.5-inch screens. However, everything comes together on the C6-01 to make a pretty clumsy interface. So the screen is really to blame for a lot of this. Looking around the phone, and below the screen are three hardware buttons: a call, an end, and a menu button. Above the screen is a front-facing camera and a light sensor. To the right, two volume buttons, a hold slider, and a camera button. On the base is a micro USB port, a Nokia charging port, and a 3.5mm headphone jack. Finally, at the back is a camera, the loudspeaker, and the twin LED flash. Remove the battery cover, and underneath the battery is the SIM card slot and the micro SD card slot to the right. Overall, we don't love the C6-01's design. It's a pretty squat little thing given the 3.2-inch screen. If there was a physical keyboard, we'd understand the screen size, but sadly there isn't. Symbian 3 runs predictably on the C6-01 with some great functionality and some limitations. Its interplay with the 3.2-inch screen seemed to be the biggest point of concern on the C6-01. As expected, there are three home screens, all of which are customizable with a long press. There are a range of widgets on board, the same found on the C7, which, by the way, the review of is more in depth when it comes to Symbian than this one will be, so check that out for more details. Pull up the menu, and you can find the calendar, contacts, music, web, messaging, photos, OV-Store, maps, videos, settings, social networking, and application icons immediately accessible. This is in a standard grid format. As with our previous praises for the OS remaining good, it works reliably well as a phone, and the organizer tools are reliable, with a calendar and alarms all delivering. Software on board includes Quick Office Reader, PDF Viewer, as well as Lotus Notes Traveler and the rest of your standard Symbian apps. There really are very few surprises on the C6-01. The on-screen keyboard on the phone is a point of contention for us here at Phone Arena. It's just too small. The little square keys are hit and miss, and with other small phones in a similar price bracket such as the HTC Wildfire offering much better messaging support. The C6-01 really suffers. We found ourselves more often than not just reverting back to this numeric pad layout with its predictive keypad input. When it comes to video, a real bonus with these new Symbian 3 handsets is the graphical processing. This makes video playback very smooth indeed, up to 720p with no lag. This claim holds good for DivX, H.264, XVID and WMV files. As you can see, everything looks really crisp and smooth, with the CBD technology working well. However, at 3.2 inches, this might get uncomfortable to watch for a full movie, for example. The camera found on the C6 appears to be the same as found on the C7. While it lacks autofocus, it nevertheless has above average noise handling. And at 8 megapixels, detail is good. The twin LED flash also lights up scenarios well, without bleaching them out completely. In addition, all the tweaks that Nokia attributed to the camera on the C7 and N8 can be found on the C6. Music playback also delivers good audio quality, with a range of views, cover flow when in landscape, and cover flow paired with a list view when in portrait. This works very well for both one-handed and two-handed usage. In addition, OV maps and the GPS works very well, with communication being a real strong point of the C6. It's very well connected with a GPS on board, 3G, Wi-Fi, micro USB port and a 3.5mm headphone jack as well as Bluetooth. Web browsing's a mixed bag. The native browser takes a while to load up the page, when connected via Wi-Fi even, and while it supports multi-touch, it's quite a jerky experience on the whole, with less than intuitive refresh rates, and pinch to zoom not always doing what you want it to do. It just looks extremely archaic when compared with something like a Windows Phone 7 browser experience. Opera improves on this. However, when you can get this great web browsing experience out of the box with other handsets, it makes us question why you'd opt for a C6-01. Other key elements with the phone include social networking, and the integration is pretty superficial. It can connect your contacts with Facebook, however, this requires you to manually link the two. Ultimately, the Symbian interface on the C6-01 is okay. It's not astounding, and is really hampered by the screen size. You can get more apps and add functionality to it via OV Store. However, on the whole, we're left feeling quite underwhelmed. To conclude, we're not in love with the Nokia C6-01. While it may make for a nice little compact video player given the codec support, and it has a decent camera on board too, as well as decent audio output from the 3.5mm headphone jack, the smaller screen means video playback may not be ideal, and text entry is truly just a bit of a pain. You do get used to it after time. However, there are other handsets in this price bracket that are just more enjoyable to use. Alternatives include the Sony Ericsson Xperia X10 Mini, or the X10 Mini Pro if you want a physical QWERTY keyboard. Another alternative would be the HTC Wildfire, but if you really want Symbian, then you may want to consider a price bump up and going for the Nokia C7. Thanks for watching the review. For more on this and other handsets, please visit www.phonearena.com.